All right, story time. This is how I went from knowing absolutely almost nothing about trade skills to making six figures in the trades, okay? So back in 2020, I was working as an operations manager for a small business. I was managing a warehouse and a small team and doing inventory management and operations and so on and so forth. COVID hit, and I quickly became very, very disgruntled with my employer and with the job I was doing as a whole. I'd been doing logistics and operations management for a few years, and I saw what happened with, I could see a lot of what was going on in the economy, and I wanted to make myself I wanted to provide myself with more job security. So I decided I wanted to learn a trade. At the time, I was 29 years old. I had no idea how I was going to make this transition. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't really want to go to trade school, but I was intent on making this happen. So how did I go about learning a trade and going from 0 to six figures in 2 years, 2.5 years? This is how I did it. I went and got an apartment maintenance job for a reputable company in the city. My wife and I moved, at the time fiance, we moved to a strange city, no connections whatsoever. But I knew that apartment maintenance guys, they know something about HVAC, they know something about electrical, they know something about plumbing. That's what they do. They maintain buildings. So it made logical sense to me that if I go and take the little bit of skills that I have and I could work my way into an apartment maintenance position, get my foot in the door, then I could, upon my own initiative and with the resources provided by the company, I could use the apartment complex as a training ground, and I could learn a lot of skills. So that's what I did. I found a company. I went and they had an opening for an apartment maintenance technician job. I applied, got an interview. I edited my resume to highlight the little relevant skills that I did have that would make sense. Going into the interview, I prepared myself by going on YouTube and learning a little bit about what do apartment maintenance technicians do and what skills do they need. And I spent a few hours just learning enough that I could go in and have a basic conversation with the hiring manager and show them that I had the intelligence and the aptitude to very quickly learn everything that they needed me to learn, so they would not have to spend months and months and months training me, that I would pick it up quickly and they could cut me loose. I went from working as an operations manager, managing a small team. I proved I was a competent person, and I'd been working mostly behind a desk for a couple years, but I had the basic intelligence and the aptitude and the work ethic and desire to do this, that I proved to them that I could come in and step in as a maintenance technician and immediately be successful. And that's what I did. So they hired me. I spent 2 years with that company, working at mostly 3 different properties in 2 different cities. We moved around a little bit. But the company, I got hired on, and I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do, but I pretty much narrowed it down to plumbing, electrical, or HVAC. And I was really leaning towards HVAC. I spent a lot of time thinking about this in 2020, and HVAC made the most sense to me. So I worked for this company for 2 years, and they taught me the basics of HVAC. They taught me how heat pumps work, and I learned some basic low voltage troubleshooting and how to program and wire thermostats and how to replace a compressor and how to check refrigerant charge and how to pull a vacuum and all the basic stuff. They taught me all that. While I was working this job for 2 years, I took it upon myself to read as many HVAC books as I could and go on YouTube and absorb all the content I could on YouTube. So AC Service Tech, Craig Miggliacio, is a great resource that I began using after a year in maintenance. He's got a couple books out. He's got a basic air conditioning and refrigeration book that is amazing for somebody who wants to try and self-teach the basics of this industry. I used his book. He also has a mini split book that's a little more advanced, but I would start with Craig Miggliacio. His YouTube channel is AC Service Tech. Get a job in apartment maintenance and read that book. But cover to cover, memorize everything. Understand the refrigeration cycle. Another great book, Basic Electricity. Okay, might have it in here. Let's see. No, I don't think I have it. Basic Electricity is another awesome. So Craig Miggliacio's book, AC Service Tech, his book, and Basic Electricity, awesome books for teaching you the basics of heating and cooling. Okay. Now, if you understand both of those books and you spend a couple years and you feel really competent, not even 2 years, a year, you could crush those two books in a year and spend one summer really troubleshooting systems on an apartment complex, and you could have the basic skill set to go and get a service or a maintenance technician job at a dedicated HVAC company. Okay, you've got to understand superheat and subcool and all that stuff, and then from there, I mean, to be really good, to get to the level I'm at now, where I'm designing and selling systems as well as servicing them, of course, you need to know a lot more than that. You need to understand airflow. You need to understand a little bit about combustion. You need to understand how to design ductwork and how to, design systems, understanding how to troubleshoot communicating systems, really being comfortable with mini splits. You need all those skills, but the basics, you can go from 0 to 6 figures by learning those, by starting out with those two books, Basic Electricity and Craig Miggliacio's AC Service Tech book, his refrigeration book. And then from there, that'll get you your foot in the door with somebody to making, like in my market, that would get you making somewhere between 60 and 80. And to get to the 6-figure point, you need to understand how to design ductwork. Okay, so design ductwork, heat load calculations, and systems. So manual J, manual D, manual S, ASHRAE fundamentals, psychrometry without tiers. That's a really important one. You need to understand relative humidity. What else? Psychrometry without tiers, ASHRAE fundamentals. Manual D is huge. Manual D is the most, probably more important than all those. You need to really understand airflow. HVAC is all about airflow. So if you understand airflow and you understand how to design ductwork, you can get into design systems. You need to understand the basics of how to do a heat load calculation, but in my market, almost nobody actually does a heat load calculation unless you're doing new construction, which I don't. I go in and replace existing systems. But manual D, basic electricity. You need to understand AC, DC, motors, all the different electrical components, understanding how relays and switches and relays work. You need to understand all that. You get all those, you can accrue all that knowledge working at an apartment complex over the course of 12 to 24 months. And then you can go, and if you can talk the talk, you can go and sell yourself. You have to have decent sales skills too, because in the residential HVAC world, it is a lot of sales. It's a lot of value building for the customer. You got to be able to go in and have conversations about ductwork, proper airflow, ductwork design, IAQ, indoor air quality, having these conversations and be able to drive revenue for the company. You will make 6 figures in almost any market. I live in a lower than average cost of living area. I don't live in a big, like Seattle. My job with my skill set, I could probably go to Seattle and make 150 grand a year. Easy, I would imagine, just because the cost of living is so much higher. Here, I live in a very, very low cost of living, small city. The average household income, the median household income here is like 65 grand a year. I'm going to pull in 100 grand. I'm going to pull in 100 to 120 this year. I did 90 last year, and it was the reason why I did less than 100 last year is because the company I jumped ship from one company to another to a company that's just setting up shop, establishing operations in this market. So we didn't have an established presence. We're going to tear it wide open this summer. This coming summer, I'm going to make a lot of money going out and selling and designing, selling, and servicing residential and light commercial HVAC systems. So try to keep these videos short. I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff, but want to offer some guidance for somebody who might be interested. That's the path I would take. Of course, not everybody is cut out for trying to go and basically self-teaching an industry. But for me, like, I learned fast. And I was hungry, and I didn't want to, I was able to make $45,000 a year while using the apartment complex as a training ground. Spent a few $100s on books and resources, watched a lot of YouTube, and I went out, and after 2 years of doing that, I was able to get a job making roughly, $70,000 to $85,000 was sort of the expected range for my first dedicated HVAC role that I started 15 months ago. I went to this company, and it was service only. It was service and maintenance. It was not designing and selling new systems. But I wanted to design and sell new systems. So I worked for that company for about 7 months, and then I jumped ship to an up and coming company that was setting up operations in this market. And the conversation we had was basically, I expressed to them that I was hungry to be given the authority to actually design and sell systems and take a bigger cut of those profits. And they gave me the opportunity. They hired me on. They spent they gave me a few months of just doing maintenance and service and testing me and training me and letting me prove to them that I could indeed actually go in and design and sell new systems. And I've been doing that for about 6 months now. And, we're in our slow season, so I'm not crushing it right now, but I will crush it this summer, and I will make $100,000 to $120,000 this year, which is more than enough that my family needs to live comfortably in this area and set aside money for the future. So, and I love this work. I love working with my hands. I love working with machines. I have learned so many cool things that I'm going to take with me when I leave this industry that are going to apply to my wife and I have this dream of we want to run a mini farm. Basically, we want to run a mini farm and run it as a business so we can feed our family and we can provide good wholesome food to our community. But I can also run a side hustle. I can get a work van. I have all the tools I need, and I can run my own little HVAC company. I'm going to go and get my license this fall, my mechanical license, and then I can run a part-time HVAC company, just taking calls, here and there during the peak winter and peak summer overflow from the established companies, and I can make a few extra thousand a year. Awesome. So I know how to, I understand low voltage controls. I know how to do, basic welding and brazing, sheet metal work. I've learned so many cool, awesome skills that I can take with me for the rest of my life. And it's providing us a pretty good income right now. So that's my short story about how I went from not knowing anything about the trades to making 6 figures in HVAC specifically. And I have the skill set now where I can easily transition to plumbing if I wanted to. I can easily transition to an electrician type job. I've looked at mechatronics. I could go do mechatronics, servicing, mechatronics technician. That's like robots and stuff, automation. There's a lot of places I could go. So this is just the start. I don't know where I'm going to take this, but I've been doing this. Once I hit my 2-year mark, dedicated HVAC, I'm going to go get my mechanical contractor's license because it's cheap and I have all the knowledge. And then we'll go from there, and I can do whatever I want. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks.